Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Handhelds. I'm Joey, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new Anbernic RG35XX Plus. This will be a pretty quick video, as there just isn't enough to talk about for the Plus version as of yet. And so in my opinion, if you're just looking for the TLDR of the video, stick with the 35XX or the Mew Mini Plus if you have them already, and just wait for this to get better, because we're not there yet, but it will get there, and when it does, this will be probably a better option at that point, but we'll have to revisit it. Now, that being said, that advice only really applies to people who are waiting for custom firmware, so something like Garlic OS to come to this, or MinUI, or something else like that, because right now the stock firmware on the 35XX Plus is not good, to put it lightly. And so I would suggest just waiting. Even if you are somebody who likes stock firmware, you might want to just wait and then use custom firmware. But if you're really against it and you really just like stock firmware, then this is fine. It's an upgrade over the 35XX and you could have a good time with this. But for most other people, I'm going to advise you wait. Because yeah, the 35XX Plus is a better device all around than the 35XX. It's faster, it's got a better build, they did a lot of changes, and we'll talk about that. It's a better device in every way, just not on the firmware side yet. So the actual experience of using the device isn't that great, so I would suggest just waiting until things are better. By the way, thanks to litnxt.com for sending me this for review. As usual, they've had no input in what I say, and they haven't seen this video ahead of time, but check them out. I've worked with them for a long time now, and they've been good to me, so check them out if you're looking at purchasing any other devices, or this one included. So first and foremost, let's talk about what's different between the 35XX and the 35XX Plus. And as you could probably hear, one of the main things that's the same is it still rattles. So if you did the mod on the 35XX, which I didn't, you'd probably do the same mod on this one, but it's unfortunate that it still has that rattling, but you get over it pretty quickly. Now, the bottom of the handheld is slightly chunkier. They're using different face buttons here, and they also don't push down as much as they did on the 35XX. The D-pad is a lot better. It's pretty much a night and day difference compared to what it was on the 35XX. To me, it feels the same as the one that they use on the 405V, just with some better pivot, and I think they made some changes on the membrane. The triggers are vastly improved, and they're using molded ones with a curve now. There's Wi-Fi included, which is great to see, Bluetooth, but it's for controller only, a better processor, and there's even a battery door now for easy access to the battery. And this battery is a larger 3300 milliamp battery. All in all, these are pretty good changes and great to see. But let's talk about what's actually missing that the 35XX has and the Plus doesn't. So I've said it a few times now, but custom firmware. So Garlic OS right now is on the 35XX. On the Plus, you can install a beta version of Garlic 2.0, but it's not ready yet, and I wouldn't suggest doing so. On the Plus, while the Wi-Fi works, you have to reconnect to Wi-Fi every single time you reboot. I expect this will get fixed in a future firmware update, but as of right now, this is super frustrating. And then lastly, the stock firmware on the 35XX Plus is just not great. So as a comparison, once again, 35XX is just going to be a better experience at the moment compared to what is on the Plus. So that's a pretty good rundown of the differences and changes and all of that between the two devices. You might think it's pretty minimal, but from a power perspective, it's a lot better, especially if you like to fast forward in Pokemon and all of that. And you also get access to a few new systems like Dreamcast and PSP, but I'm going to say it because I always do. Those are bonus systems that involve a lot of tweaking, and I wouldn't consider them completely playable. So buy this device for up to PlayStation 1 and perfectly, and all of the fast forwarding that you get. And then if you want to tinker, you can play around with getting N64 or PSP or Dreamcast working, but it's just not worth it in my opinion. Also, just quickly, in the box is the usual screen protector, the wipes, and the manual. The manual is useful since you'll be using stock firmware, so memorize the hotkeys there and just give it a read instead of throwing it out right away. But I want to mention the screen protector, because they did it again. It doesn't cover the bezels, only the screen, and I absolutely hate when companies do this. So just keep in mind that if you're counting on this screen protector, you might want to look at other ones that cover the full thing. And I have no idea what that might be, but if you find it, let me know because I'm going to need it too. But back to the device, and let's just go over my gripes with the stock firmware before we wrap up. First things first, if you want to use a single SD card right now, there isn't an easy way to do so if it's bigger than 64 gigabytes. Like always, and with everyone in the hobby, the first rule is to throw out the unbranded SD card that comes with these devices, and use your own branded one. The problem with that is that Anbernic's firmware is set up to only use a 64 gigabyte card right now, and this applies if you're using the one single card. Meaning, let's say you have a 256 gigabyte card, and you want to use that instead of the 64, and you only want to use one card. The firmware right now only allows you to use up to 64 gigabytes of it. So the actual space that's left over, that 200 gigabytes, is unallocated space. You can't access it easily and extend it so that it makes use of it for ROMs. Now, of course, the easy way around this is just to use two SD cards, with your bigger one being in slot 2. But I wanted to mention this for anyone looking to do one single card because it is an issue. Then we have Wi-Fi, and while the Wi-Fi actually does work when it's on, you have to turn it on every time you reboot the device, because it turns off every time you power off the device. I have no idea who thought this was a good idea, but I expect it'll be fixed at some point. Just know that right now it's not fixed. And on that Wi-Fi note, there's no over-the-air updates. I have no idea why they included Wi-Fi if they're not going to include over-the-air updates, but they did. Hey guys, Joey here. One other thing that I forgot while I was editing is that there's a password limit cap for your Wi-Fi SSID. It's 16 characters. So if for some reason your Wi-Fi password is longer than 16 characters, well, good luck. It won't fit here. It's just another weird thing with this firmware. There's also no scraping in the software. So if you want artwork for your actual games, you're going to have to do the scraper method, and I showed it off in a few different videos, but mainly my RG35XX setup video, and I'll leave a link in the description to that. Don't follow the rest of the video because none of Garlic would work on this Plus version, but the scraper part would work. Lastly, when you enter or leave a game, you get a sound of static noise. It's just weird static. It's not even with Wi-Fi on, because it even happens with Wi-Fi off. But my OCD kicks in every single time that happens, and it's kind of an annoyance. So as usual, I never recommend anything based off of potential or future potential or what this can be or what this might do. So as of right now, this isn't worth the purchase to me. I just don't consider it to be completely better than the 35XX, and that's mostly due to the custom firmware lack and just how bad stock operating system is right now. But we'll get there, hopefully, and if we do, I'll revisit this, make a new video, and do a re-review and all of that. But if you're looking for Joey's response right now, it's just don't purchase it, just wait and go from there. That's going to be it for this one. Hope you liked the video and hope you all have a good one.